There's something I want to get off my chest when it comes to the TGS direct feed footage of Sonic Frontiers, and it's the apparent tonal shift we're getting in this story, and it raises a lot of questions. Where is the upbeat music? Why is there a lack of stylized areas that Sonic is known for? And most of all, is this a bad thing? Well, upon listening to the footage, we can see that the open world area doesn't have a specific melodic ring to it. The menu UI sounds fairly arbitrary, and even the battle music has a very smooth but stressful transition to it. But all these aspects contributes to a sharp turn in direction for what Sonic fans are used to, where entering a new zone fills the eardrums with bliss is now a whispering void. It all seems a bit melancholy. Heck, even listening to Sonic's voice, Roger Craig's range has been lowered, but it has never been more manageable. There's now a sense of believability with Sonic's character, versus the highly personified confident hero that we've seen. And yet, with such a drastic shift, still leaves fans of the franchise and many others intrigued for this game. Why is that? I mean, it's not like this has never been done before for Sonic. Sonic Forces, the previous entry, went through a whole Eggman taking over the world concept, and yet, why did it never stick? Well, part of this reason is the lack of contrast. On paper, when hearing the darker tone for Sonic, it sounds very intriguing, because it's a stark contrast from what Sonic's personality usually is. But when we still get the same happy-go-lucky hero being unaffected by the environment around him, there's no contrast, no concept of peaks and valleys. What makes a successful story in media is that every peak has to be paired up with a dip or a valley. Things can't be too over the top or melancholy all the time because it ends up creating staleness, where the latter will end up being mundane. Having a balance between these two aspects is what lifts the medium into a universal appraisal, which I believe Sonic Frontiers does really well with. Although the open zone experiences seem voided in its tone, when you get to those cyberspace stages, you can still see the semblance of upbeat music that Sonic is known for. You still get those hard rock anthems and Sonic's themes to break away from that void. You can visually see Sonic's expression shift from getting thrown, beaten, and battered to being empowered by Super Sonic to get at odds with the Titan. And most of all, you still get glimpses of Sonic's aloof nature in these fishing segments or brief interactions with his friends. Every aspect seems to have an apparent peak or valley in its extremities, offering depth from moment to moment. That's why I call Sonic Frontiers' shift as a melancholy experience, not just for its atmospheric tone it conveys, or disappointment of the franchise this tone could bring, but because the difference between sadness and melancholy is the depth. The difference between Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers is the depth. It follows through what Sonic Forces wrote down on paper, and all of the highlighted statements I've made, both audibly and visually. And even if this game decides to crash through its direction, I can at least say that Sonic Frontiers was successful in bringing the in-depth experience in its story than ever before. I mean, just take one look at the reception at TGS with the Japanese audience. Sonic has not seen a rise in the Japanese gaming market for a while until now, and to be quite honest, I think that's a major feat in itself. I believe it's time that we take a step back from the lens of a Sonic fan, where we nitpick the level design or whatever else we can come up with, and see this as an opportunity for a new general audience to indulge in. We don't need to be hyper-focused all the time on an ever-evolving franchise, because where would the depth be in that?